think it's afternoon, right? Good afternoon. State Representative Joe Salazar. I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to tell you that a lot of my colleagues at the legislature, they want to look at this issue. They want to be strong on this issue, and I'm taking a different approach in the sense of my perspective. I'm a member of community. I grew up here. My family goes way back. Way back. And I've been thrown up on top of cop cars. I've seen my cousins thrown on top of cop cars. We've been frisked, we've been questioned, we've been detained, had shirts thrown up, tattoos taken photographed of, and otherwise generally harassed. I've never been arrested. I represent people who are arrested. I've never been arrested, but I've experienced the humiliation of having law enforcement question your very existence on a street corner, right? I've also heard from friends who live in the communities where they also work, like school board member Arturo Jimenez, who works in the area where he lives. He's walking to work not too long ago, I think it was a couple of years back, and he was followed by a cop car. Just followed, you know how it is. You're walking, they're trailing, you're walking, they trail. And then ultimately you're stopped. He says, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" "I'm going to work." "What's your name?" "Arturo Jimenez." "What do you do?" "I'm an attorney." Have a nice day. Not everybody's an attorney. Not everybody's a school board president or a school board member. And not everybody's a state representative either, right? They're members of our community who face this humiliation all the time. Going with the perspective of being a professor too, criminal justice, Chicano studies, who teaches police officers and sheriff's deputies all the time on how to interact with our community. But not just how to interact with our community, but to go way back to the genesis of law enforcement in our country. Because you can't understand the root of the problem if you never looked at the root. Right? Why in the world was law enforcement first developed? They were called slave patrols. Right? And when you look at the genesis of law enforcement up until present day, you see a pattern of why law enforcement exists. And law enforcement exists because they are maintaining the social order for the haves and not necessarily for the have-nots. Right? We had someone ask the question about homelessness. I will be bringing a bill on homelessness. Homeless Bill of Rights this coming session. Denise Maez is in the back from the ACLU who's helping me out on it. Because we have to address the issue of the haves and the have-nots. And by and large, the reason why we see an awful lot of black and brown faces in our prisons and our correctional facilities is because we've historically been the have-nots. I'm going at a different angle with this because I understand it so innately that I teach on it. And this isn't an issue of looking at Chief White or Director O'Malley and saying you're the problem, because this problem predates you by generations. It predates you. Instead, this is taking a look at the root itself and understanding what parts of it do we need to keep and what parts of it do we need to kill. Right? So understanding this perspective and understanding this problem. I'm going to be bringing legislation, and thank you, Brother Jeff, for being there when we had law enforcement in the room, when we had the AG's office in the room, and when we had the DAs in the room, talking about the legislation, because my stuff is hard hidden. That's why they showed up, because they're scared of it, right? But I'm not in the legislature to make everybody feel nice. I'm in the legislature to make things change. And making things change is going to make people scared. Okay? One of the things that's been talked about, I've gotten phone calls from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, from all over the country about special prosecutors, right? And the reason why I know about special prosecutors is because even leaders long before I was born were asking for them. They were saying, we do not trust how you are investigating and not prosecuting offending police officers. And for generations, we have seen a lack of prosecutions. And instead, we have seen exonerations, and we have seen DAs stand in front of you saying that the police officer acted lawfully. Right? When we know that that's not true. And I'll tell you, I'll give you a good example. And I know Chief White's going to bristle when I mention this, right? But I'm going to mention it. When you have a citizen lawfully recording a police interaction, and the police officers take that recording and erase it, that is called criminal mischief. It is textbook criminal mischief. Textbook criminal mischief. And it's also textbook destruction of evidence. Were those police officers prosecuted for that? Were they ever charged for it? I would love it if D.A. Morrissey was here right now to respond to this representative and tell him why that did not occur. That's why we need special prosecutors. And when I sat in that room with them and said, I want to bring this legislation forward, did they fight me? Brother Jeff, did they fight me? Wow, did they fight me? Figuring out everything in the world to try to pull over on this educated Latino as though I was too stupid to know. Right? And it happened that way. I'm not afraid to say it. The AG's office, they fought with me. They were disrespectful in that meeting, telling me how much they didn't want special prosecution unit in their office. But guess what they're bringing this year? They're bringing a special prosecution unit for public officials when it deals with corrupt county officials. But they don't want to touch it when it comes to police officer and misconduct? Are you kidding me? Do not tell me this and then do that and act as if I'm too stupid to realize it. Right? Now, some of you are like, Representative Salazar, you're just posturing. Right? You're just talking big. The bill's written. And it's coming. And let's have that discussion. Because as I told them, not one citizen, not one resident of the state of Colorado has come to me and said, this is a bad idea. The only people who have said that this is a bad idea are the district attorneys, because we are taking power from them. And the AG's office, who doesn't want anything to do with it because it's political. Right? They're the only ones. They're the only ones who do not want this. The AG representative came up and very disrespectfully said, I have never heard such a thing, that citizens want this special prosecution unit. I said, brother, why don't you come to my community? Why don't you come and live my life? Why don't you come live the life of community members? And then let's see if we have a different story a little bit later on. Right? All right. So that's the first bill. Just the first bill. Second bill, because we have to recognize that power needs to be brought back to the people. We have to put parameters on what a lawful order means. I have asked law enforcement, what does a lawful order mean? And they have said very specifically, whatever we say, no. 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 As difficult as it is for me to tell you no, you're going to come to accept it. And let me tell you how much you're going to come to accept it. I have Republicans begging me to be co-prime sponsors on a bill defining lawful order. That's how much we believe in it, because both Democrats and Republicans alike believe that not everything that comes out of law enforcement's mouth is a lawful order. And if we have to start putting parameters on that, which will result in better training, which will result in better interactions with community, which will result in better trust between community and law enforcement, then that's exactly what we're going to do. Seems like such a simple thing, doesn't it? It's amazing how simple things at the Capitol can be very complicated. The next thing that's being brought up is the issue on citizens' right to record police interactions. If you are in public and you are recording a police interaction and you are not interfering and you are not doing anything unlawful, guess what? They're not going to touch you. And if they do touch you, it's going to come down on the municipality. Not that police officer, but the municipality. And I'll tell you why. Why it's not going to come down on the police officer. Because it shows the dearth of training that municipalities are giving police officers when it comes to lawful recording. We can't have this anymore, where people are recording interactions and police officers come and take their stuff and erase the data, stomp on cell phones, take their tablets, and think that that's okay. We're not going to have it anymore. And that helps build community trust. Now, police officers may not like it. Administration may not like it. Municipalities may not like it because it's going to come out of their coffers if this behavior continues. They may not like it. But take a step back just for 1 second. A lot of why people don't trust law enforcement anymore is because law enforcement goes and does crazy things like that. It's silly to go and take someone's recording and erase the data. Where is community trust in that? Even at its very basic level. I'm not going to trust law enforcement anymore, right? I'm hearing that during the Jessica Hernandez situation, and my heart bleeds for that family. I hear that during that situation, someone was going to record it and police officers said, "Don't you dare." Well, guess what? If the recording is being done lawfully, dare, because we're bringing the bill. And it's going to allow you to do your very basic fundamental civil right, which is to lawfully record somebody in a public setting. I want to see everybody in this room at the Capitol when this stuff gets rolled out, because it's your responsibility. You say, "I'm going to hold you accountable, Representative Salazar." Well, guess what? I'm going to hold you accountable too. You want me to bring this because you asked that it be brought? I want you to be there, getting my back. You have to be there. And I've laid this down too with the Latino community and the American Indian community, as well as the Caucasian community, the Asian community, and the LGBT community. You need to be there. It's coming. It's a big change. But this big change is coming because of you guys. You need to be there too. Thank you very much.